in a world where words have the power to change lives, one woman's legacy continues to inspire and touch hearts. Dr. Divya Joshi, a scholar, poet, and educator, left an indelible mark on the world of literature and humanistic thought.
I first met Divya through various literature festivals and conferences. She could see through people, she could see through circumstances, and she was very gentle and delicate about how she spoke about them. When Divya read my stories, she immediately decided to translate them, story by story, story by story. She never once bothered about who the publisher would be, what is the guarantee of the publication. She just loved the stories enough for them to want to reach Hindi audience.
For over 3 decades, she inspired generations with her scholarship, sensitivity, and unwavering commitment to humanistic thought.
तुम्हें अंग्रेजी साहित्य से बहुत लगाव था, तुम पढ़ाती ही नहीं थी, बच्चों को सोचने के लिए हौसला भी देती थी। नेक का काम तुम्हारे लिए एक जिम्मेदारी नहीं था, बल्कि यह चाहते हुए कि पढ़ाई सही मायनों में अच्छी हो और कॉलेज के बच्चे एक बेहतर इंसान बने और आगे बढ़ें। सबसे बड़ी बात, तुम्हारा दिल बहुत बड़ा था। किसी की मदद के लिए आगे बढ़कर पहुंच जाना और उनकी मदद करना, वो सिर्फ तारीफ के लिए नहीं, अपने नाम के लिए नहीं, बल्कि किसी को कुछ देकर सिखा सकूं।
Her work across poetry, translation, gender studies, and pedagogy reflect deep empathy, intellectual rigor, and a strong social conscience. A life rooted in purpose, creativity, and service. Dr. Divya Joshi's legacy will continue to guide and inspire us all.
मुझे गर्व है कि मेरी बेटी ने अच्छा जीवन जिया, बहुत से लोगों की जिंदगी को छुआ।
I think Divya is still here, metaphysically, and she's having a very wonderful smile as she sees this book take its spot under the sun at the Jaipur Literature Festival 2026. Divya, this is all for you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As you just heard, we all have foregathered here today in memory of Dr. Divya Joshi, who passed away a few months ago. She was a regular visitor to the JLF. She was a well-known poet. She published 2 volumes of poetry. She was the head of the department of Dunga College in Bikaner, and she inspired hundreds of students and scholars who have done research under her. And just short of 2.5 years before her retirement, because of the canker of cancer, she passed away. I'm thankful to Namita ji for putting this special session together in the memory of Dr. Divya Joshi, and entitled Poetry of Remembrance. Please note that poetry of remembrance by itself is so vast that actually it could have been a genre itself. When we talk of poetry of remembrance, it's about loss, it's about nostalgia, it's about longing, and it's about people who've lost their lives. It's about in memoriam poetry, the songs of lamentation, and so on. So it's such a vast field. Not to forget war poetry, what was known as trench poetry. The World War I especially, and then later World War II, produced some of the finest world poetry, which is a perfect example of the poetry of remembrance. In memory of Dr. Divya Joshi, I'm going to read out one of her poems just now before we take the program further. This poem by Dr. Divya Joshi from a book Matyoshka. The thread that wove the garment is no more. The thread, the water droplet that formed the clouds is no more. The drop, the river that flowed into the ocean is no more. The river, the sediments that settled on the earth's surface is no more. The sediment, the visual perception that reflected light is no more. The light, the sound waves that entered the ears is no more. The opinion, the taste bud that tasted the food is no more. The flavor of infinite universal energy that illuminated is no more. The fire, the thought that we breathed in is no more. The thought, the space that surrounded and engulfed us is no more. The ether, the umbilical cord that connected the child and mother is no more. The poignant chord, the transcendence, the transient, the ephemeral are all but an odyssey, a metaphor, and a continuous churning of self and creation. What a wonderful poem by Divya Joshi, where she says everything is ephemeral and transient. For this session, we also have, because it's poetry of remembrance, we have with us Mr. Bharat Mali, whose wife Savita Mali, she passed away some time back. In her honor, Bharatji has announced a grant of rupees 25,000 for a young person who has shown exemplary skill in creative writing. Bharat's sons, daughter Madharmi and Arthviti are also here. And I will request Bharat, Madharmi and Arthvati to come up on the stage and say for a minute or two, say something about why this award has been constituted and announce the name of Vijay Rahi, who's going to get the Creative Writing Award. Please welcome on the stage. Yeah.
Thank you, JLF. Thank you, Namita ma'am, for providing us this opportunity. We lost Savita last year in cancer, और ये अवार्ड ये ग्रांट हमने सोचा कि कैसे हम सविता को जिंदा रख सकते हैं मेरे बच्चों के मन में और शायद मेरे मन में भी. तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि इस एक विचार के साथ कि एक नए आर्टिस्ट को हर साल हम लोग एक नए आर्टिस्ट को हम एक कोई ग्रांट दे सकें, एक थोड़ा सा टोकन ऑफ थैंक्स दे सकें, उस भाव के साथ हमने ये ग्रांट शुरू किया है. आई बिलीव कि इस तरीके से हम सविता को वर्षों तक हमारे साथ रख पाएंगे. सो आई एम सो थैंकफुल टू JLF फॉर प्रोवाइडिंग दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Good evening, everyone. I am daughter of Savita Mali. I lost her last December due to cancer, but me and my mother used to come here in JLF, used to enjoy it very much. So I am very thankful to have this stage today, and I hope she is very proud of us, and we really miss her. Thank you, everyone, for attending us.
I think we are all proud of the courage of this family and their big, big clap, and let us invite him. We invite Vijay Rahi. श्री विजय राही, एक मिनट यहाँ आइएगा. ऐसा है कि श्री विजय राही is a very promising poet. His new book has just come out yesterday or day before in Delhi in the World Book Fair. And these lovely children, I'm sure they are going to be Lekhak, Pathak in the Jaipur Literature Festival in the future. I think we need to give them a long, long clap. Next year, Vijay Rahi ji has promised to write a special poem for this occasion on remembrance.
किसी भी शख्स की मृत्यु तब होती है जब हम उसे याद करना बंद कर देते हैं, और बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है मुझे कि कोई इस तरह से भी किसी को याद कर सकता है. इससे अच्छा भला और क्या बात होगी. तो ये इसी बार से शुरू किया है भारत जी ने और इनके परिवार ने. उम्मीद है कि इसका बहुत अच्छा मैसेज जाएगा और हम सब उस पुण्यात्मा को, सविता जी को हम याद करते हुए आप सबको धन्यवाद देते हैं कि आप सब ने मुझे इतना प्यार दिया, सम्मान दिया. धन्यवाद.
So I'm just going to ask one question to Malashri and then ask her to recite a poem of remembrance, after which I will recite a poem of remembrance, and that's how we plan to take it forward. Malashri, now poetry of remembrance, as we just saw an award being given for the death of Dr. Divya Joshi, deals with grief and loss of the loved one. Do you think writing a poem on the loss can be therapeutic and cathartic? Would you agree? And after answering this, please read one of your poems.
Thank you very much, Jagdeep. It's indeed a great privilege to be part of this commemorative meeting and to say a few words about the poetry of remembrance. It seems to me that there are different kinds of poetries of remembrance, as you rightly said. And one is like public memory, like partition poems. There is so much that we can recall, particularly the one that I am very influenced by is Gulzar Saab's Toba Tek Singh. And it brings back that terrible moments and the personal suffering, but it is embedded in the collective. The other kind of poetry of remembrance is the personal one, when we lose our parents or a dear one, as we just heard from the family, then it is a different kind of poetry. It's more personal. So if that is sufficient answer, then I will move on to write a poem about, to read a poem about my father, whose name was Mohan Mukherjee. And many of you here in Jaipur know him because he served the Rajasthan government for many, many years. And it took me a long time to absorb the fact that both my parents were no more. And then in my latest book, I finally had the courage to write this poem. So this is what's called. My new book is called Signing in the Air. This is it. And many people have asked me, where did you get this title from? So I'm reading this because this is coming from a poem I wrote about my father. He was a historian and a bureaucrat. And this is how the poem goes. Behind the Mohenjo-daro sculptures, I saw an intense scholar's face, a lurking smile curving at the lip, my father, a historian whom friends called a walking encyclopedia. Why was he here, peeping behind the stark, angular, dancing figurine? I lost the museum guide's ramble and heard only my father's voice wafting in the breeze. There was no Aryan civilization. We're all indigenous to the plains. See the proof of the archival site, of rituals and rites of passage, of cooking utensils, waterways. Forget the historical divides. Forget the rhetoric of hate. This dancing figure is an emblem of a shared heritage. I'm standing in a building dubbed National. That's me. I'm standing in the National Museum in Delhi. I'm standing in a building dubbed National, and I ask, Baba, does history remain locked in glass caskets of a museum? I sign my farewell in the empty air.
That's a wonderful poem indeed. Taking a cue from Malashri, I also like to read a poem on my mother, which was written on her first death anniversary. Now, there is this thing, once someone passes away, there are a lot of people advising you to move on, be brave, carry on. But and a lot of people have written poetry about one day death itself will die. John Donne wrote that, Shakespeare wrote that one day death itself will die. We'll defeat death. But my poem says that I don't want to move on, because her memory, her remembrance is the strength which gives me life. So this is my poem for my mother, my poetry, my poem of remembrance. For Mom, on her first death anniversary, is most sacred to me the pain of the void, each suffering day, the grievous anguish has been my sustenance. The lullabies you sang were the songs, not only of comfort, but also of hope. I stood by them. I stand by them, for the memories refuse to shrivel. They are as fresh as the new wounds, and sure, they hurt. It's this pain on which I live, is this pain for which I daily shed the solitary tears. It's this pain which gives me solid strength. Don't take it away from me, this pain. And don't ever tell me to move on. Move where? Death doesn't die easily. Shall we open for Q&A now? Yeah, so given the constraints in time, we have 2 minutes for any questions someone would take the answer. Yeah. Any Q&A, yeah. Should I read one more poem? I would like to read.
So since we are in Jaipur, I'm going to talk about collective memory and collective remembrance and read a short poem which is called Shila Devi of Amber. Gilded silver doors encase me now with a retinue of priests who determine my hours of shayan, darshan, and bhog. I think of my freedoms in Joshur. In a marshy pit, I lay hidden when Raja Mansingh found me as a black miracle stone, I traveled to golden Rajasthan. Honor, glory, wealth is mine. But what happened to my companions in the marsh? The dolorous fish, the raucous frogs, the earth hugging worms, did they find adoration too?
I will also read a poem. This was on the suicide of the famous poet Sylvia Plath. Sylvia Plath was a confessional poet who had a great impact on me, and it gave me strength to write personal poetry, which can be so difficult because you stand bare and naked in front of everyone. For those who know the poem Mirror of Sylvia Plath, famous poem, I'll first say two of her lines. In me, she has drowned a young girl, and in me, an old woman, rises toward her day after day like a terrible fish. This is an extract from a famous poem, Mirror. Now I begin my poem. You learnt early, life only dissolves and dissolves like a series of promises, and what remains are a few odd syllables. You learnt early that it's a little cornucopia of shattered splendor in a broken cut glass bowl. In fact, you laughed at it like a woman gone mad. You learnt early that the spirit in us is the spirit of blackness, that the silence in us is the silence of astounded souls. Sylvia, but you said you had friends. The cool odors of flowers and trees, the twinkling light of the stars. And remember, you said you could converse so easily, so well with the skies. I can't believe that you have advised touch life and it won't shrink like an eyeball. So why did you shrink? Why did you lose the fight against the fish? You can read one more poem. Any more Q&A? Otherwise, we can hand over. Rohit, you want to ask a question? Please give a mic to Rohit.
Sir, as you mentioned that writing poetry in remembrance of somebody can be therapeutic, but at the same time, writing personal poetry is a daunting job because you're putting yourself in the front of the world. So during your journey as a poet, have you ever felt any kind of reservation while sharing the details and you had to, change or edit any of the lines because you thought, no, this is not what I want the world to see?
Whom are you asking?
To you.
Well, only on the 16th, my book was released, and a similar question was asked to me that did you have any, reservations in writing? I have not been scared to write personal poetry. My wife Pinky is sitting in front of me. She loves my love poetry, especially of unrequited love. But yeah, I have never been scared of writing personal poetry, and I have written, even of death. Both my volumes have. Any writer or poet who is saying he is not thinking of death is a bloody liar. So a lot of my poems have, this poem in my latest book has, as I limp into the mists of sunset, So I have not been scared or reserved to write about anything of my personal feelings. And so my volume has both personal and impersonal poems. Yeah.